Hello, I'm your host, Natalie Ryan Hebert, and in today's episode, I'm talking with Katelyn, a graduate of the Red Tent program, to discuss her life-changing journey of overcoming PMDD. 2.5 years after completing the program, Katelyn reflects on her struggles with debilitating symptoms, strained relationships, and self-doubt, and how she found hope, healing, and empowerment through the Red Tent program. Whether you're feeling stuck in the depths of PMDD or searching for a way to regain control of your life, this episode offers actionable insights, inspiration, and proof that healing is possible. Learn how understanding the root cause of your symptoms can unlock freedom and transform not only your life, but also your relationships. So welcome, Katelyn. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share. Yeah.
So away you go, I guess, to start with, a little over 2.5 years ago, what was it like to be you?
Yeah. Just looking back, it was dark times. Before I found your program, I was definitely at an all-time low, I think, with the PMDD and the symptoms, and I was feeling pretty hopeless and discouraged, honestly, because I had tried several things that just hadn't worked. And I had 3 little kids, I think ages 6, 4, and 3 at the time. And so and I was this full-time stay-at-home mom. And so I had, just a lot on my plate at home. And at that age, the kids need a lot of attention, a lot of care. And so, and my marriage was strained just with this whole pattern of my mood and all my symptoms. It was really tough on my husband. I know he was super supportive, and he was understanding that, that I had something that was sort of out of my control, but it was still hard on him, obviously, too. So that's kind of where I was at. It was just a very low point in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so tough on the partners. They want to be there. They know that it's, something's up and it's not just you. There's something wrong. But at the same time, it's hard to predict what's you and what isn't. Like in ourselves are like, is this me or is it the PMDD? Like I can't even trust myself anymore.
Exactly.
And then partners need to protect themselves. So, and then a relationship becomes very difficult because in order to be there to support you, they almost have to shut their heart off a little bit. And then you can feel that, and then it makes your pain worse. I mean, it's just so difficult.
It's a mess. Yeah.
So do you even remember how you came across me and this work in the first place?
So I had actually joined this PMDD memes page on Instagram. I don't know if you remember that page.
Oh yeah, and it's so funny. But I mean, if you can't laugh at it, it owns you, right? And PMDD memes on Instagram, at least you can laugh at it. But it's
And that was actually, it was the first time I'd found a group of women that were struggling with PMDD, with all these crazy symptoms, and so I would go there quite often to look at the memes, and just, the humor was really good for me. And I saw you comment on one of the memes, I think, and asking permission to post it on your PMDD support group, Facebook group. And so that really caught my attention. I was like, oh, there's a support group out there, So I just instantly looked you up on Facebook, and that's how I found your Red Tent sort of Facebook support group and your program. And
and there are plenty of support groups out there, but they aren't a very happy place to be. It's a big price to pay for support because it's a very negative, down, hopeless kind of situation where really the feeling is I'm a victim of this thing and I'm just going to have to suffer. And that's not the message that I have. My group doesn't have anything like any sort of talk like that in it. It's very much a different understanding of what PMDD actually is. So let's see, like I'm grilling you now. So what did you learn about yourself, what do you understand about PMDD now?
after? Like, what was it? What did it show you? What did you realize was really going on? Like, it's not just I've got PMDD, like I've got diabetes. Right. It's not that.
Yes.
It's a psycho-spiritual situation. Like, it's an emotional, psychological, and hormonal, because the shift of the hormones is sort of highlighting or magnifying or revealing stuff that is deeper, that we're able to kind of just ignore in the first phase of the cycle. So, tell me about what you now understand.
Yeah. Well, and right as I was sort of finding your information and doing a lot of research about PMDD, obviously, research started to pop up here and there about this trauma element. And that was something that sort of drew me to your stuff, was you talked about that there's a trauma element to PMDD, and that just needs to be healed. Like, that's literally what is causing all of this emotional, sort of these emotional explosions and issues and symptoms. And so, looking back now, it just makes total sense. And at the time, before I started your program, it was kind of hard for me to admit to myself that I had trauma, because I had an amazing childhood. I have wonderful parents. And, but, just from what you taught me and from my own research and going through the program, I realize everybody has trauma. We all, just as human beings, we all have trauma to work through. And so there was nothing to be ashamed about. But there was an answer, and also something that, I've learned is people with PMDD, we have this special sensitivity, before just premenstrually. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I feel like these past couple of years after the program, I've finally sort of learned how to view that differently, and to not shy away from it, and to use it and integrate it in my life. And so, looking back now, it's like, that's what it was. Like, I was just so sensitive to the trauma that hadn't been healed.
Yeah. And it is a big word to use, trauma. And it is, I guess that's the terminology, but there's big trauma, which is what we've always heard trauma to be like, I was held at or there was came back from the war, and there's trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. But there is something that I guess can be considered trauma too. And really, as Gabor Mate says, it isn't what's happened to you, it's the meaning that you've given it. And that's what you're stuck with, because the event's over, but the meaning you gave it, particularly really the meaning about yourself, is left there. And then that is the wound. And then that wound is like getting hit by grains of salt, or it's like a thorn that you can't see, but you feel the pain of it. And when that thorn gets pushed upon, you really feel it, and you become reactive. And you think, what's wrong with me? And why am I reacting like this? I'm overreacting. But if you really understood the thorn, you'd go, well, this isn't an overreaction. This is an appropriate response to having a thorn stuck in you somewhere that you can't see, but it's in there. And it's all about finding this thorn and pulling it out and going, aha, that's what it was. It was this. I couldn't see it because it was subconscious. But now that we've gone into the subconscious through hypnosis, we're able to find it quite easily. And the amazing thing is that your body and mind know where the thorn is. It's not me. I'm good at helping you find it, but it's you who tells me what it is. And we do this kind of soul surgery and go, oh, found it, right, let's pull it out. And once we do this, it all starts to, it's like a wound that heals over, and then the grains of salt that used to hurt the wound don't hurt anymore. You don't react like you used to, because it doesn't push upon something that was painful, because it's healed over. And everyone I work with has a different kind of thorn, but it usually comes down to, most people have this belief that they're not enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. And that's a horrible, painful thing to have to carry deep down. So yes. So is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. Yeah.
So it's been 2.5 years since you went through the program, and the program has Rapid Transformational Therapy included, and we also do metacognitive psychology, helping you to actually watch your thoughts and go, hang on a minute, and have some distance instead of your thoughts just having full control of you and you reacting to your thoughts. You're able to take distance and space, very much as one would if you're practicing Buddhism or meditation, being able to be present. That presence is a very powerful thing because it gives you space to actually choose. So there's that element in the program combined with the hypnosis to get to the root cause, to pull out the thorn. And then there's just the support along the way. So as a result of going through it, what have you noticed in your life? And it's 2.5 years. So I imagine, I call it a positive snowball too. Like in the beginning, you feel the difference, but over time, those positive changes tend to just compound.
Yeah.
So what's happened in the past 2.5 years that you feel wouldn't be the way they are if it weren't for you having done this healing work?
Yeah. Just talk about where I was before. I had just your typical PMDD symptoms that most women I feel like have in common. I had just so much irritability, like 90% of the time, and rage. Rage was the biggest issue for me, I feel like, but that also caused anxiety attacks or panic attacks and depression. And I had insomnia and, all these strained relationships. My kids were just terrified of me, I was, all of these symptoms were just really debilitating and sort of destructive to my life. That's kind of where I was at. And going through your program, I noticed even before the RTT sessions, the hypnosis sessions, I noticed just relief. Like I felt the edge taken off of some of my symptoms because I was in this group of, 5 or so other women who were going through exactly what I was going through, and being led by someone who had overcome their PMDD, and just so you had that perfect empathy and just being in that space, that support group, I felt a big shift just heading into the program initially. And then, like you were talking about, learning about all the, just the metacognitive training and how to be aware of your thoughts and just learning about the brain and subconscious. I just started to see immediate changes, positive changes in my symptoms, just learning, and going through the process.
Yeah, that what you just mentioned then about having that empathy, because what we tend to do is hate ourselves for what we're going through and thinking, if I just hate myself enough, if I hate this thing in me, then maybe it'll just pack its bags and leave. Because if I was somewhere and I was hated enough, I'd probably leave. So maybe this part of me will just leave. I'll give it a try. And we keep hating ourselves and hating ourselves.
Yeah.
But that doesn't fix it, because the pain is that you don't love yourself, that you've rejected yourself, you've abandoned yourself, and you abandon yourself further for being in pain about that. And the pain, the wound just gets bigger. So we've got the original thing, and then we've got this on top of it, we place even more rejection, which just puts us in more pain. And then we hate ourselves more. And before you know it, it's all a bit out of control.
Yeah. Oh, and I had so much self-loathing, before the program. And I think that's what was so healing about being in this group with so much empathy and understanding, is I could feel love from you and from these other women, and and you all knew what it was like to have PMDD. You knew the nature of the beast, and so it's like, if these people can care for me, I can start. It sort of opened the door for me to develop that self-compassion and self-love again. Just Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh, and the other way around, when you're looking at them, the others who are going through the same thing, and you're not hating them the way you're hating yourself. You're looking at them going, oh my gosh, I so understand this. And you're a lovely person. And, look how creative and beautiful and special you are. And then you go, hang on a minute. Maybe I'm like that too. And you can start to see this mirror, in another person who you think, she's beautiful. Like, I can see her pain, but there's nothing wrong with her. And then you can allow that compassion to come in for yourself. So that's the other way it works in being in this group with others going through it.
Yeah, totally opens the door. Yeah. And then just with the hypnosis sessions, those were just so honestly just super profound, and I would even say spiritual experiences to be able to dive in deep and just get in there and figure out what was the root cause of everything. And and so I just since then, since the program, it's really interesting because one of the analogies that you've used, I don't know if it was in a YouTube video or during the program, but just the analogy of sort of tearing out the weeds, and then planting seeds. And so after the program, you kind of have this fresh slate, this clean slate to work with. And you're kind of at neutral, and that's kind of a like unstable place to be because you're so used to just being low,
Yeah, unfamiliar. And the thing with our minds, it's a kind of design fault in a way, because it just keeps going back to what's familiar because, well, you're still alive, right? Therefore, let's just keep doing what we were doing because we know this works. And this thing that you're talking about, happiness, joy, freedom, we don't know that. So let's just stick with what we know, even though it's bad, right? So this is how our brains work. They don't care about you being happy. They care about you being alive so you can pass on your DNA. That's all life wants, really, how our minds are programmed. So you have to take this conscious part of you, which is, we're amazing as human beings, Homo sapiens, we're conscious men and women. That we can then use that choice and say, I'm actually going to override the program because I know I can have better than this. And that's what the recording that you listen to is all about, actually making a choice to plant better seeds where the weeds used to be. Yeah. But carry on. I just wanted to catch that while I remember.
Yeah. And that was, so helpful in, I think, the transition out of the program, just because we had worked on planting those seeds and sort of reprogramming our subconscious and our conscious thought, that made that sort of neutral zone after the program seem more stable and more, I can do this. I can continue to implement these tools that I've learned from the program. And now I don't have these huge waves of strong emotions and strong PMDD symptoms getting in the way. Shortly after, I started to notice, because I had these little moments where I was like, is it gone? Do I still have PMDD? Because I noticed that I had sort of almost a PTSD reaction to just any negative emotion after the program. I was like, I'm like feeling sad. Oh, is that PMDD? Is it coming back? But
totally.
I had to get used to like, oh, I'm a human being, like your program doesn't make us immune to just regular human emotions. And I had to kind of relearn to just feel normally again, like normal ranges of emotions.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny and just interesting. I wasn't expecting that. But once I kind of realized, okay, that's just regular anger. I got angry because something happened that I didn't like, or I'm sad because something sad happened. But it didn't spiral into like a depression. It didn't explode into rage. It was just really nice to just have regular feelings again. And I started to noticed the real fruits of the program with my relationships first. So my children, they started to approach me more like with just affection, and they'd give me more spontaneous hugs and say really sweet things to me. And before, when I was in the depths of PMDD and just scaring them and being so harsh with them, they were walking on eggshells around me, and weren't able to really be affectionate with me, And so that was just such a huge joy to realize, that those relationships were getting repaired, and it just so life-changing in that regard. And same with my husband. Obviously, like, marriage is just hard sometimes. And we still have arguments, we still have disagreements, but the turnaround time to resolve the disagreements is just night and day. With PMDD, it would ruin a family vacation, for a week, or we couldn't resolve an argument and it would last for days. And now
Christmas, Christmas for me was always like, it just happened to be the bad time a lot of the time. Yes. There were many Christmases that were not happy Christmas because of it. It's just too many days home together. How are we going to get through it, because of this thing. So it's just such a relief to yourself. It's a gift to your marriage. It's a gift to your children. It's a gift to your unborn grandchildren, because they are going to have a different life because of the work you've done, because their parents, your children, are going to be different than they would have been had you not healed. And it's an incredible thing that you've done. It's generational trauma keeps going until someone says, it's going to end here with me now. Let's do the work. And it's an amazing time we're in now, because there are so many tools, and there are therapies. There's an understanding of the subconscious that wasn't there a few generations back. Yeah. And we just sort of had to play out our program and think, well, that's my fate. And Carl Jung talks about that. I mean, he knew that the subconscious runs the behavior, and we think that's just our lot in life, but we can actually change the subconscious program if we have the right methods, which now we do.
And so that was definitely that's definitely been the biggest change for me. Just my relationships and even outside of family. I didn't have a lot of friends when I had PMDD. I didn't have energy to devote to outside relationships as much. And now I feel like I've been able to make more friends, and I actually have friends that I am close to now. And so just relationships all around have improved, and I definitely feel a lot more confident in myself. Obviously, we all have days where we don't feel as good about ourselves, and we have bad days here and there. But in general, I feel like I can go after my dreams. I can start that new hobby, or just do more things that I really wasn't capable of doing with the PMDD, and just how debilitating it was. So it's just all around, it really has changed my life in so many ways. And it's funny because it's, your program, it doesn't like solve all our problems. Like you still have to live life and have the challenges that come with living life. But it solves the PMDD problem, and that's just affects, every other aspect of your life. So
you can actually show up and, whatever comes my way, I know I'm going to handle it, because I trust me, and I love who I am, and I approve of myself, and all the things that allow us to be robust in this life. So if you could sort of send a note back in time to yourself when you were in the depths of it all, what would you write to younger Katelyn from a few years ago, say 3 years ago, before you found the program? What would you, if you could write yourself a little letter, just off the top of your head, what would you write to Katelyn 3 years ago?
I think I would say to just keep searching. The answers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just trust yourself. You're being led along exactly where you're supposed to be led. And the answer is so close, and you're going to make it. And life is going to be better, and it's all worth it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's gratitude, and I can honestly say there's gratitude for the PMDD, because it's, and I always, when I've heard other people say stuff like that, when I had PMDD, it'd make me so mad. I'm like, you can't be grateful for this, Here I am.
Yeah, I know. I can say the same. And I know I've said that to you ladies before, like it's hard to believe now, but you will be grateful, because the pain of it pushed you, it's like the thorn became so inflamed that you couldn't ignore it anymore. Right. And had it not been for that awful pain, you would have just gone on living your life with this thorn, which was not true, kind of holding you back from who you really were. Right. And this pain was like an awful inflammation around it. Yeah, it was horrible, but it sure got your attention. And you searched and searched until you found a way to get that thorn out. Whether you knew there was a thorn in there or not, you knew something wasn't right. And that's what the PMDD was doing. And so that's how you can be grateful, because without it, we would never have found the thorn and thrown it in the bin or pulled out the weeds. We wouldn't have even realized there were weeds there, and planted these new lovely seeds, which are going to, it changes. You don't even know how far this ripple effect reaches, how far into future generations your work is going to have made a difference. The people, the friends that you made now, like how much their life is different because you're in their life, and you may never have met them because you were hiding yourself away before. Your husband's life. I mean, how far does it reach? You don't know. Everyone in the world is potentially affected by the change you make in one way or another, because we're all connected. Like, it's a huge thing to do this work. It's not just for you, it's for the whole planet in a way. And that's what inspires me to do this, it's a healing the world project through. And I really believe that women with PMDD are like the canaries in the mine. They're the ones going first. They're the ones who are being drawn down every month into the stuff. Mm-hmm. They're the creators, they're the artists, they're the healers. And they're the ones who are going to lead the way in the world healing. If you're watching this right now and you've got PMDD, ask yourself, am I creative? Am I highly empathetic? Am I in some way a healer in my nature? And I bet you are, because everybody tends to be. I'm a therapist, I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm pretty good at drawing and painting. I think it's just part of it. It's this sensitivity, it's this intuition, it's this ability to feel ourselves. It is a gift, but not when there's a whole lot of trauma stuck down there, or negative subconscious beliefs. It's maybe an easier way to say it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me, Katelyn, and sharing your story with us. And I hope for those of you listening that this has given you some hope. And if you'd like to hear more, you're welcome to get in touch via one of the methods that's going to be below this video, links to different ways you can contact me. So thank you very much, Katelyn.
Yes, thank you.
If you found this episode helpful, I'd love it if you could take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your support helps us reach more women who might need this message of hope and healing. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who could benefit from it, a friend, a sister, or someone in your community. You can follow me on Instagram at Natalie Ryan Hebert and at the Red Tent PMDD. I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you there.